Hi, this is Doug with IdahoMMA.com and Combat Fight Series. I'm here with John Holsman. Thanks for your time, John. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's cool to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now this is an interview that I've been waiting a long time for. I appreciate your time. John, tell me, how did you get started in mixed martial arts?
You've been waiting a long time. I'm from the prehistoric days of Idaho MMA, so I've been waiting a long time for this. And I'm excited that you're doing this, Doug. I think, I follow Idaho MMA, and I think, you've brought a lot of charisma and a lot of excitement to the fight game through your website and through the things that you do. So, first off, I just want to say we appreciate what you do, Doug.
Well, thank you.
As far as like the fight game and how I got involved with it, I guess it all started for me when I was on the playground in about second grade out by the train car out there. We all used to go out and fight, and back in those days it was like, there wasn't so many knives and chains and all that. It was just good old fisticuffs, and when you had a problem, that's where everybody went. But over time I did some of that stuff and was kind of a fist fighter, and of course got involved in football and wrestling and did all that stuff for a number of years. And when I got into high school, I was a heavyweight wrestler and football player and stuff, and I was kind of prone to the idea of more of a formatted fight game, and so I did a little boxing and I did a little bit of a karate and a little bit of different stuff. But they had a thing back then they called pit fighting, and that started years ago. In the late '80s. Me and a couple of buddies went over from the wrestling team and kind of hung out late night with some of the underground crowd and ended up in the barns in Caldwell, and that's how my pit fighting career kind of got started. And then of course over time, I started getting older and I couldn't react like I used to, so I kind of started thinking about the announcing end of it and got into that, and that's where the career just kind of went from there. So I made the conversion from from fighting to announcing.
So now you're talking the late '80s. So from that time, I mean, of course, the sport has evolved. I mean, just in the last 5 years here in Idaho, it has.
Right.
But your opinion, you've been pretty tight. You have a website,
Sure.
Prep for Battle. Tell me, what do you see? What have you seen the biggest changes for Idaho MMA?
Well, I think the first step was kind of taking things and getting it out from the underground. That was the first part of it. It was pretty diggity back then. They didn't have a lot of the things that the fighters have today. And unfortunately for me, I was kind of ruled the roost of the heavyweights for a number of years, and I did some pretty cool things and won some fights in some pretty dramatic fashion, but nobody ever really saw it, or there was no bells and whistles, no ring girls or anything like that. So in 1996, that seemed to be like where everything kind of came together back then, and they did a show. A promoter came along, did the show, and it was kind of a mix between kickboxing and the new formatted MMA as we know it today. And that was kind of the original kickoff in this area anyway. That kind of got things going, and then it wasn't long after that before more promoters started coming along. There was just a lot more shows, and it just fell into a cavalcade, and we started doing all these programs. And I was sitting there one day just trying to help people with matchmaking and that type of thing, and I thought, there's got to be a more easy way to kind of set this up. So I took a list of the names that I had. I wrote down all the heavyweights. I wrote down all the middleweights, all the light heavyweights, lightweights. And I just kind of put them in an order. There was nothing to really organize them in any accordance of anything except just a bunch of names. But that's kind of how it started. And then over the years, we started adding the records to it. And that's kind of how Prep for Battle got started. That's my moniker for announcing is Prepare for Battle. And so we made the website Prep for Battle, and we started putting these guys in kind of a standing. It wasn't really a rating. It was more just based around numbers. And it's been one of those things that I think a lot of people have looked at over time, over the last, 17 years or so. And it's helped them in matchmaking and helped them to kind of see who needs to fight who.
Right. So now, you talk about your announcing. Just doing interviews, I get a little bit nervous. I know exactly what, some of the things that you go through with the fighters and getting that kind of information. That's quite a job, right?
Yeah, it's a different thing. It's something that I've always kind of had an inkling to do. I did some, it's a crazy story, but I did some cockfights over on the island of Guam, and it just seemed to really take. People seemed to really like it, and that's kind of what led me to the notion. I came back from the islands in '94. Got married to my wife Suzanne in '96, and that's when I really started picking up on professional boxing and doing like the Kenny Keene fights. I had some breakthroughs. I got a Buster Douglas fight I was able to announce, Mia St. John, Butterbean, and things just started, kind of rolling from there. And it's just been there's a lot of good people associated in the sport, and the things that I've learned, I wouldn't pass it for anything now. So.
Well, we're a week away from Combat Fight Series. You're going to be announcing that. You're also a partner in the promotion.
Yeah, a couple of great guys. In fact, I noticed on your website a while back you talked about, you were excited to see who these people were that were working with this program. And man, I got to tell you, it's fun to work with you, Doug. I've always liked you, and I think you and I are going to work together well on this upcoming fight, the CFS fight. But I can't say enough about Brandon and Jeremy Smith. These guys have come in, and it's just such a new element. Every few years, I'd say about 5 or 6 years, things change. We have one guy that takes it and runs it for a while, and then it either doesn't work out or it's just time to pass the baton. And man, these guys have picked that up, and the job that they've done so far, and the loyalty and their communication and the rapport with the fighters. Man, I couldn't ask for anything else. I mean, everything just seemed to fall right into place, and I seemed to know what they were looking for, and they seemed to know what they were looking for in me, and I'm just proud to say that I'm part of this whole process and the whole package now where it's at.
Well, it's exciting. I can't wait. Just knowing your name out there, talking with everybody, Facebook. Your pictures always get the most likes. Everybody's got everything great everybody's got great things to say about you. One of the things that I always ask, like especially the pro fighters, and you've been in the business a long time. What advice would you give, like the amateur MMA fighters today around this area?
Well, this is an interesting thing. It's I look at MMA, and what I've followed it through the years, I think it's made up of basically three different criteria, and that's strikes and kicks, takedowns and throws, and locks and chokes. And the biggest element of all of that is, and there's a lot of things that are added into it. There's aggression and strength and speed and all those different things. But the biggest element in it, for me anyway, is the Lord. I mean, it's all about God, and it's like, I think the smart fighter is the fighter that's winning today. I think that's the guy that's going to be on top of everything. It's turned into a hybrid sport. I remember early on they used to have wrestler versus boxer, excuse me, but since that time it's changed, and it's a hybrid sport, and the good fighters are the ones that have a little bit of everything, but if you have a good spiritual rapport with yourself, I think that just gives you that much more of an edge over your opponent.
Great insight.
That's my personal belief to it. I mean, I was a guy that, I had a big right hand, and I was a decent wrestler, and there was just something spiritual about it. When I get fired up and put on that kind of energy, that's where everything, I enjoyed the skills that I learned, but it was really my mindset, I think, that I was going into the fight. I knew I was going to beat the guy across from me before I ever stepped in there. So. Well,
yeah, and you're undefeated in your MMA career, right? Right?
7-1. Yeah. I had one draw in there, and, I kind of let a guy off the hook, and he came back, and I took some pretty good licks from him, and so I was kind of thankful to get the draw out of it. But I had some fights along the way, and that explains, So, it's just been a learning process. I've been lucky. I've been able to be involved in the way that I have through the announcing. I mean, I've been able to work in so many different states, Texas and California and Utah and Idaho and Montana, and it just, I've really been able to travel out and go around and learn a lot of things. And then also, something that's helped me along the way is just having a background a little bit with the fight game. I've worked a little bit in announcing, a little bit of matchmaking, a little bit of promotion, and just having all those different areas. I think announcing is really my forte, but I sure like show production, promotion. Again, just for the fact that when I was younger, I didn't get all the the exposure that I could have got. And these fighters today are way better than I am. And today is where they can do it because they get all the exposure. They get the bells, the whistles, the ring rules, of course. They get all the stuff with it. So you can really move up the ladder really quick. And that's what I enjoy seeing today is these young guys coming out, fighting hard, and being able to take it, to the next level and able to get there. You still got to work hard and you got to fight. And sometimes when you win, you lose, and when you lose, you win. But at the end of the day, it's making those baby steps and enduring your career and getting to the top.
So now you've been associated with other promotions, but this promotion, because the matchmaker and the promoter are both fighters.
Right.
You're a fighter. I mean, you guys are along the same lines as far as the thinking goes, right?
Yeah, I think that's a huge element to it. I mean, it's hard to, it's going to be hard to teach me to swim if you can't swim. So for me, being in there, this as being an athlete, Doug, that, it's once you get in there and you get that element, and you have to physically exert yourself, it makes you a stronger human being in the long run, either way. So to have that background and that backdrop it's been something that I have noticed. I think there's been a lot of people that have tried to get involved with it, and we all got to start somewhere. But the people that have had, either fought before or have had some kind of resistance in their life, it's helped push them and get them where they need to be too.
Well, are you excited about the 21st?
Man, I tell you what, this is, and it has been a journey. This has been a journey. There's always ups and downs. I give a lot of credit to Brandon Smith, the matchmaker. I mean, he's one of the youngest matchmakers, I think, in this area that's been around. And, a guy was asking me the other day, well, has he got some good stuff? And I was like, well, geez, he's got Daryl Flores and Talon Hoffman and Tommy Turner and Gabriel Miranda. And he's like, oh, well, obviously he's done his homework. See, and that's right up my alley. I'm like going, man, that's, I take my hat off to a young guy like that that's come in and done the job that he has done. There are some different elements that, I think we've incorporated into the fight game over the years. We used to have so many fights. And I think what it does when you do that on the event night is it kind of takes away from more of your main event fighters sometimes and that type of thing. And so we wanted to cut the card number of fights down a little bit and make it a little more intricate like boxing used to be in the past a little bit. You didn't have quite so many bouts on one card, so we're trying to isolate it down and really trying to give these fighters the exposure that they deserve.
Well, that's going to happen at the Ford Idaho Center on the 21st. We're talking a couple days.
I'm so excited. It's different. And this is another thing, too, Doug, that I think that has been incorporated, especially into this fight that I've noticed is in the past, people talk about, hey, you going to the fights? And they'll go, well, yeah, we're going to go check out the fights. And it's always just about the fights. But this fight, it's, I think one of the things that leads to the element, too, with both Talon and Daryl is they have fought before. It's a rematch coming into this main event. And that adds that little extra aura of something. And it's not just fights. People are really coming out going, hey, I saw that first fight, and they went the distance. And, I mean, that thing was they both had so much offensive ammunition poured out there that it's probably going to come down to who makes the first mistake. And I think that's kind of what dictated the fight on the first time around. So, very excited. It makes it so much better for me as an announcer when they have this kind of excitement. And it's not just fights. It's like a big matchup coming. So
nice.
Yeah.
It's been a long time, like I said at the beginning, to get to interview you, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I mean, we could probably go on for 30 more minutes, and we will.
Yeah.
And we will. But just not today. Really appreciate your time, John. You got any shout-outs you want to give out there to all your fans? I know you got a ton of friends.
I just love everybody. I want to tell my wife I love her. I'd like to tell my daughters, Demetria, Athena, and Talos, that I love them. And the biggest thing for me is prepare for battle, because it's a hidden little thing in that message. There's something with that, and if you just look for it, you'll find it.
Right on.
Thank you, Doug.
John, thank you. Appreciate it, and we'll see you at the weigh-ins.
Sounds good.